Are you stealth transmission proof? Be better equipped against COVID-19 with me right now. What's up? Delsie Mortal Vicente here, providing you Bed Remedy. This is episode 2 of the 4-part series, CoronaV, Upclose and Evidence-Based. It's been over a month now since we've shifted from ECQ to a modified GCQ. And as of July 21, 2020, we've hit the 70,000 mark, of which 45,646 are active cases. How many asymptomatics? We have no idea. And that's the problem. According to hoaxes et al. In their study about the transmission of the control of COVID-19 outbreaks, more than 50% of the overall attack rate in COVID-19 outbreaks are due to the silent disease transmission during the pre-symptomatic and asymptomatic stages, known as the stealth transmission. How is it possible? We will talk about that in this video, as well as the preparations needed to be COVID-19 proof. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button because we're starting up with the transmission update. We all know the transmission of COVID-19 is via respiratory droplets from direct contact when a person coughs, sneezes, speaks, or sings, and through indirect contact if a person is exposed to a contaminated object or surface. But recently, WHO acknowledged the possibility of airborne transmission.
We have been talking about the possibility of airborne transmission and aerosol transmission as one of the modes of transmission of COVID-19. We're also looking at the possible role of airborne transmission in other settings, particularly closed settings where you have poor ventilation. And we've engaged with a large number of groups, epidemiologists and clinicians, IPC specialists, engineers, mathematical modelers, to try to consolidate the growing knowledge around transmission.
Should I be alarmed of a possible airborne transmission? No need to panic. Just stay at home, wear your mask, wash your hands. The WHO is still gathering evidence to make the claim definitive, as they need more research about the exhaled droplet nuclei, the respiratory droplets that would evaporate to generate aerosols, and the infectious dose of viable SARS-CoV-2 required to infect a person exposed to it. But whether it's droplet, indirect contact, or airborne, we can be sure of one thing. Asymptomatic carriers, people who have COVID-19 but don't develop symptoms, and pre-symptomatic carriers, people who have COVID-19 who will develop symptoms later on, can transmit this virus to you. And these people can be in your workplace, in your neighborhood, or they're walking down the street carrying a quarantine pass. And these kinds of stealth transmission can prolong the outbreak, increase active cases, and strain the health and economic sector. Because one person with COVID-19 can infect 2 to 3 people in one day. So while WHO and health workers fight COVID-19 in the front lines, let's help in the fight by making ourselves stealth transmission proof. How? Number 1, wear the right mask. The WHO recommends medical masks to health workers, elderly, people who have underlying conditions, pregnant women, and people who tested positive or who have symptoms of coronavirus disease. If you don't belong in those categories, the WHO recommends the use of cloth masks. And since then, a lot of cloth masks have emerged. But do take note, different kinds of cloth masks offer different kinds of protection. Researchers at Florida Atlantic University conducted a study comparing the 4 types of face masks commonly used by the public: a stitch mask with 2 layers of fabric, a commercial cone mask, a folded handkerchief, and a bandana. Researchers tested each to see which would likely offer the best protection by measuring droplet blocking efficiency when a person coughs or sneezes. And their study showed that the stitch mask with 2 layers of fabric performed the best with droplets traveling 2.5 inches, followed by the cone-style mask with droplets traveling 8 inches. The handkerchief performed worse with droplets traveling 1 foot and 3 inches, and the bandana gave the least amount of protection with droplets traveling about 3 feet. So when buying cloth mask, try to check if it's 2 or 3 layers. If you prefer to make your own, try to create hybrid masks. Hybrid masks are masks made out of 2 types of fabrics. Researchers in the UK found that combining 2 layers of 600 thread count cotton with another material like silk, chiffon, or flannel filtered more than 80% of small particles less than 300 nanometers and more than 90% of large particles bigger than 300 nanometers. They found that combinations of cotton and chiffon offered the best protection, followed by cotton and flannel, cotton and silk, and then 4 layers of natural silk. But even if you have the right material, if you don't wear it right, the mask protection decreased to 50% or more. So, apart from the right material, you have to wear it right and you wear it tight. Can I reuse disposable mask? Yes, as long as it's not visibly dirty, damp, or torn. With the pandemic stretching out for months, our masks and respirators are in short supply. Tommy and Conway from CDEM says extended use and reuse of single-use surgical masks and respirators with or without reprocessing should only be considered in situations of critical shortage. Where extended use or reuse is being practiced, healthcare organizations should ensure that policies and systems are in place to ensure that these practices are carried out as safe as possible and in line with available guidance. So before you reuse your disposable mask, place them in brown paper bags or clean receptacles with good ventilation. Let the mask air out for a day or 2. By then, the viable viruses have died out. Number 2. Maintain social distancing. The WHO recommends 3 feet. The CDC recommends 6 feet. But most people follow the 6 feet rule. But is this really enough? Well, the 6 feet rule comes from the 1930s and 1940s study of William Wells when he's studying about tuberculosis. Experts apply the results of Wells to COVID-19 as its main mode of transmission is through large respiratory droplets that typically travel 3 to 6 feet and will then fall to the ground within the 6 feet distance. But new data challenges that, as researchers in Wuhan, China, in their study, aerosol and surface distribution of SARS-CoV-2 in hospital wards, states that the transmission distance of SARS-CoV-2 might be 4 meters, 13 feet, twice the recommended social distancing guidelines of 6 feet away from others. Also, the high SARS-CoV-2 attack rate following exposure at choir practices in Washington, Amsterdam, Germany, England, South Korea, as well as church congregation in Alberta made the experts concerned about aerosol transmission. Hence, they're urging the CDC and WHO to update their guidelines. So what should we follow now that there's the possibility of airborne transmission? Many health experts say that 6 feet of a distance is a good minimum to observe and follow. Based on what is known about the virus' main mode of transmission, since the aerosol transmission is still being researched by the WHO. Always remember that the 3 to 6 feet standard is just a reference point and never a hard line beyond which you are 100% protected, as distance is likely not enough to prevent virus transmission. 6 feet is better than 3 feet, and 12 feet is better than 6, and staying at home is much better than staying out of home. If you can double the distance, why not? But if you can't observe even the 3 to 6 feet rule, then don't forget to wear the right mask and wash your hands. Hand washing or hand rubbing? Soap combined with running water is by far the best way to eliminate germs in our hands. That's because soap molecules themselves are very much effective in destroying the surface membranes of bacteria and viruses, including the novel coronavirus. In addition, the lathering of hands and scrubbing thoroughly creates friction that helps lift and wash away dirt, grease, and microbes under running water. But if you can't wash your hands in the moment, or you don't have access to clean water at that time, then using a hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol is a good option. And rub your hands with sanitizer for at least 20 to 30 seconds, not too short that the job doesn't get done, and not so long that you'll give up. And there you have it, the 3 basic stealth-proof transmission updates delivered and presented to you. If you got questions regarding this video, don't be shy and comment it down below. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with someone who needs to know about it. Thank you for watching, and see you next week on another episode of CoronaV Up Close and Evidence-Based.